his hand up.
Rivas?
I
There
think
you go.
so.
Got it. Okay. All right. Wow, Solomon, what's going on over there?
His hand up.
Rivas? There you go. Got it. Okay. All right. All right. Rivas is in. Okay, cool. All right. You're ready to go, Seiji.
Awesome. All right, we still have 3 minutes. See you guys very soon.
Seiji is now host. Ciao.
All right. It's 7:05, and I think we are on time to start this. Ah, hey, Mihail. Hey, Anna. Hey, Katrin. By the way, if you guys want to open your cameras, that will help out a lot. These classes are supposed to be more interactive. The purpose of today is that we go through how we can go about making live tools or real apps, as they call it in ACI, so that the result is we have something that's super applicable. I wanted to start by telling you a little bit about the whole worldview organizations, for those of you who don't know. So all of these companies were founded by Geshe Michael, and he did a great job. The first company I believe he did was Asian Legacy Library. And as you guys know, they collect all the ancient texts and input them in Tibetan, and they make it available for the world. Sadly, there's not a lot of people who understand it. So Geshe started translating things, and about 5 years ago, he started to want to train. well, he's been doing that for a while, but 5 years ago he restarted trying to train people to learn what he does, so that we can continue this legacy long after he's gone, long after we are gone. So basically, this survives through history. After the first translation, usually it gets converted into ACI courses. It has three ways that it can go so far. It either gets converted into an ACI course or a Lamrim retreat. The second one is it gets converted into a DCI level. And the third is gets converted into a YSI course. So these are three different types of organizations that seek to cater different type of people. If you have ACIs, the people that are attracted to these teachings, kind of like just a translation, the pure teachings, which is how I got into this group, by the way. You have DCI for the people that want to learn how to use these teachings, but don't want any of the tradition or the religious aspects on it. And this is DCI, the company that I help run. And you have the same thing, but people that are more attracted to yoga, and that's why YSI exists. So I wanted to let you know about the process, because this is what Geshe Michael does. And the main purpose of this translation program is that we all learn to do this, so that this legacy reaches many, many generations. Oh, hey, Anatol, hey, Isha. Just for you guys to know, this is a tradition that it's at least 2,500 years old. So it's very, very important for us to continue doing this work. I always see it this way. We cannot be the generation that lets this die. So we have a big responsibility on our shoulders to learn quickly from Geshe Michael. Thank you guys for coming here. And let's get started with our diamond mining class. I wanted to start by saying that so far we don't have since Geshe Michael is the one who does this mainly, we don't have a standard yet. So each translator, we all do real apps or live tools, but everyone has a different approach to it. I got the Diamond Cutter Press. Oh yeah, sure. I forgot about that. Well, there's a lot more organizations. There's 13 organizations of the worldview. What happens after we translate it, books are sent to the Diamond Cutter Press to be published, for you guys to get them. Very cool that we started doing ebooks so that we can spread them even further. But anyway, so I wanted to give you a little insight on how I go about doing this. I was very lucky to be under a great teacher, Orit, who, in my opinion, was she has a very, very good mind. And she was teaching us how to structure our talks. So this is the approach that I'm taking. So let me start sharing my screen. By the way, translators, are you guys okay? Do I need to slow down? Good. Please let me know. Oh, yes. I will slow down. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. So these are the steps that I found. I wasn't doing it with steps, but I decided to make this sheet to help you out. And by the way, I repeat, you guys can find your own way of doing this. This is just the way that I do it, that I like to do it. So the very first step, find a piece of scripture that you like. My text, honestly, I love every single part of it, but I found this one in particular in one of the terms, and I kind of liked it. So I'm translating a commentary on the Crown of Knives, a class actually. And I like this piece of scripture. It says, when the things I try to accomplish never seem to work out, and I feel upset to the core. It's because the wheels of knives has turned on me again. Karma of obstructing the work of holy beings. From now on, then I'll give up ever being a hindrance to them. For those of you who don't know, this book is the book on correlation. It's two things. It's a lojo, and it's a book on correlations, meaning it's meant to give us the exact cause of everything in our life, from things we like and we don't like to things that are neutral, like, I don't know, the pattern on the wood here on my desk. So what's the next step? Well, in my book, to be honest, it's pretty easy because it's very applicable. The second step would be trying to connect it to a real life problem or dream. Some ways that I found to make sure that this is a real life problem. You can go in and research statistics. What are the main things that people struggle with? For example, I studied business in school, and about 80% of businesses fail in the first 3 years. It's usually after that time, the businesses that manage to get through it usually make it, but most of them fail and die within the first 3 years. So that's sort of connected to this, right? Personal experience. As a project manager, I can see a lot of projects that start and cannot come to a fruition. It's kind of part of life. I see it in my peers. I see it in my employees, with my family and friends. So this is the second one, right? The things that how we can see from personal experience. Another way, going to an expert, marketing expert, psychologist, and anthropologist who study these kind of topics. So then I would say take the essence of the problem. Usually, like I said, the first, taking into account all of these projects, particularly I find in the last steps, are hard to complete. And usually when you've put so much time and energy into that, that creates a big frustration, right? Like it says here, things never seem to work out and I feel upset to the core. So in this case, I think this is a very, very, unfortunately, this is a very, very common problem we have. Then, what's a solution that this life tool solves? It's I see it as a twofold, even though it's not clearly stated in a positive way. So the cause of this problem to happen for projects not to go on, stop obstructing the work of great leaders. By the way, you have noticed that I changed the word holy beings to great leaders. In my case, because I'm so soaked in DCI all the time, I started to make this almost automatically, because our purpose is to make this completely universal so that it can reach every corner of the planet without getting anyone offended. So this is something that you'll need to learn to do depending on which project you're working, what's your goal. You can keep it as holy beings, or you can change it to, for example, something that people can relate a bit more. Normal people, meaning people that are not interested in Buddhism or things like that. And another thing, for example, that Geshe Michael does a lot, particularly in DCI, in the original books, things are often formulated in the negative sense. For example, I don't know if you guys know, but the origin of the 4 steps is a full path of karma, which talks, you see it in the course where we see vows, how to fully destroy a vow, and there's 4 conditions. And So what he did is he transformed this, how you can do the worst thing you can do, and he flipped it. And that's how the 4 steps were born, which is the same principle, you just flip it to the positive. So positive, I mean the if you want to do virtue, not necessarily pessimistic or optimistic. So so that's why I put this part, even though it doesn't necessarily say that in the text. It's the opposite. I mean, if projects don't work because you're obstructing, then it would make complete sense that they would work if you did the opposite of obstructing. Therefore, you can say if the solution for projects working all the time or faster, helping them complete their work faster. So after you have, in this live tool, I decided to go with a problem solution formula, and this is the core message that I went through. If we want to successfully achieve any project we want, we should stop obstructing the work of great leaders and help them accomplish it. Yeah. By the way, why is a core message important? This is the main thing you want your audience to live and remember. And why is it important to have it? Because it's good to, first of all, to have it clear ourselves, and second of all, to repeat it many times in our live tool. They say that usually you should do it one time in the intro or telling the audience what you're going to talk to them about. You do it in the body of your talk or in the body of your live tool to go really deep into the topic you're going to go through. And then usually at the close of your talk, you repeat it once again so that you do a quick recap and give the people a takeaway of what they should remember after they go to your talk or after they read your live tool. So pretty easy, right? If we want to successfully achieve any project we want, we should stop obstructing the work of great leaders and help them accomplish it. Then the way I see it is after that we go through a logical flow, which is what I was talking about. I chose here the 3 main ones that usually come up. You can have problems followed by solutions. You can have simple ideas flowing to more complicated or chronological. When we're talking about historic things, for example, like what Tsugeng and Stanley are doing now, doing the biography of Master Basubando. Simple ideas flow to more complicated could be like the pen or the 2 husbands. We start talking about easy concepts and then start getting deeper and deeper into emptiness and then dependence. And so you can choose any of these 3 or any other. I just chose the 3 that I think are most popular or more common. The next thing that we like to do, by the way, this is, you guys get here a little taste of what we do in SCIM, the Sedona College of International Management, where we teach people how to teach the DCI principles. This is a short version and a light version made on purpose because we only have 1 hour. So I made it a lot shorter because I want to let you guys have some time at the end so that you can start working on a part of scripture that you really like. But anyway, usually you have 3 types of goal that you can put. Cognitive, which is what do you want your audience to understand? Emotional, what do you want them to feel? If you notice in Geshe Michael's classes, maybe not so much in this translation course, but in any of his other classes, he's always not playing, but inspiring different emotions so that we can relate more to the material, right? By the way, something important here in the goals, always good to frame it in the point of view of your audience. So as you see, all of them say the audience will. So what are the three goals that I saw for the audience to get? Audience will understand what the cause is for not being able to accomplish goals and feeling upset. That comes straight from the correlation. The audience will understand how to stop obstacles to completion. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like the hardest part for me, and I think for most of the people that I've talked to, is the last 2-3 steps of any project. The completion part is for some reason a hard thing. The third one, the audience will understand how to ensure completion happens. Emotional goals. The audience will feel excited to try something new. In this area, we have this concept talking about conventional and ultimate causes. You know, conventional is all the things that we do because we think they work. Ultimate is just working with seeds and emptiness. Second emotion that I want my audience to feel inspired and to make an action plan so that they can put this into practice so that they can get their projects done. Something else that we do in SAM that I thought it was a good idea to put, there's 4 types of, there's a system called format, and you look to engage with your audience in 4 different ways because they say that we are 4 different types of learners, and the way that you connect is there are some people that you need to connect through an emotional connection, some people that you need to connect in a logical connection, giving them all the points 1 to 3, 1 to 10, and these are in between, etc., etc. People that need applicability to real life. By the way, we all have a little bit of everything. And the last one, innovation connection. How can I use this life tool I just learned in another situation that's not like this one, but that can help me in my life? So, oh, by the way, I put here in white, well, in black and white now, this, and then in blue, my personal things relating to this life tool. So emotional connection, for example, an idea of how to do this, having your audience remember the last time they had a problem. For example, the last time you were about to complete a project or a business, venture, and it failed. Oh, it was correct. Another thing, making them remember how it felt. Another option that you can do is tell a story. For example, when I studied entrepreneurship, and when I was graduating from college, I started a project, and we were doing a marketing company, and we had the business plan, we had the people, we had started sales, but then we had some problems in the company, and it just failed. It was kind of heartbreaking because it was our first attempt to have a business, etc., etc. So I bet you your audience has an experience similar to this. By the way, it doesn't need to be necessarily a business project. It can be any project. Doing a home renovation, getting your kid into a good school, losing weight, finding a boyfriend or girlfriend. It can be anything. Here I just chose a business example, I guess, because I'm so used to it with DCI. So that's how you engage learner number 1. Learner number 2, logical connection. with the structure, right? You start by presenting a problem, taking projects to filtration, and you cannot do that last part of making the project really stay. And when they fail, it can leave us into a very negative emotion, sometimes even depression, right? I put here going to scripture, if applicable. Again, you need to check. The most important thing is check where you're going to teach. What are the laws? What are the customs? And if you might offend anyone, sometimes you take this out. I put it in here because here we're in a Buddhist context, so we can take a dive into the ancient correlations of the text called the Crown of Knives. And then, so problem, correlation, which gives you already a part of the solution, and then presenting the solution. In this case, is a twofold solution: plan the causes, eliminate the obstacles. The causes being helping a leader or a holy being around you in whatever project they're doing. And two, trying not to be an obstacle. We'll get in deeper later. Okay, for learner number 3, applicability connection. This is something that is very dear to my heart because I'm like this. I need to know, how does this help me in my life, right? So I found 2 things that you can help usually people like this, giving an examples of how you use it. So for example, by giving an example of how I want to achieve a new project, which is creating this online platform where we can sell all of our recorded courses to create passive income for the whole company, so it can hire more people, etc., etc. So first step, I need to find the great leaders in my life. The most easy one, Geshe Michael, right? He's the boss and the founder of all these companies. But there's also a lot more people that apply to this. We have John Brady, who's the director of ALL. We have Connie, the director of YSI. We have Nick for Mixed Nuts, Tim for ACI, Jigme and Rosa, I believe, for Diamond Cutter Press, Stanley and Allison for China Soft Power, Jamie Plant Knowledge Base, Hector Steven, 3 Jules. So this is how I found, if I want to apply this into my life, I say, okay, so I need to help one of these people or many. Second way that you can help people, help them create an action plan. And again, here, I find that it's very useful also to give real life examples of things that you can do so that your audience can start to think in their lives how they could do that with the leaders in their life and how to do it. In my case, I chose Geshe Michael because he's my direct boss, and I decided to go for the best leader I've met. So what are some things that I can hinder his work when people are not getting along in the organizations? Because that means that we need to take his time to come and make peace with everybody, make policies, etc., to make sure that everyone in the different organizations or within a company are working well together. That's a negative, right? How can I hinder? How can I make his job easier? Making sure we settle disagreements between us, making sure we work as a team, both in the worldview organizations and within DCI, SCIM. Another one to hinder his work, wasting his time. As you guys know, he must be one of the busiest person I've met, to the point that he has Jigme drive him so that he can work in the car. So time is a very, very precious resource for him. So those are the type of examples that things that I can be doing that I'll try not to do if I want to have success in my next project. This one is easy because it's my job description, things to help DCI, SEM grow. And how to hinder, another example, having him do other things than translation and content creation. Like I said, his time is one of the most precious resources he has. And at the same time, I realized that he is the only one right now that can really do translation. And he's the only one right now that can do content creation. He's training people, translation with this program and content creation with this new department called Live Tool Creation, spearheaded by Nick. So we are getting there, but to be honest, right now, he's the only one. So that's another way that I can help or hinder if I ask him to do anything other than translation and content creation, because everything else can be done by someone else, either me or someone that I might know. Within DCI, coordinating company directors, setting up teams to run things smoothly. Okay, and last type of learner, innovation connection. Showing people how they could use this for other things. For example, the example here is we use it for a business, but this you can use it for anything in your life, for personal life problems, home projects or family projects. For example, something that I have right now in my house, I want to convert my house from a septic tank into and connect it to the city sewage, little things like that, or I need to remodel my kitchen, or find a way to get my family to come visit my son, because he was born in COVID and they couldn't travel much, right? So it can be done for any project, and the correlation remains. It's just helping your audience understand that you can use it for anything, because believe it or not, a lot of people, first time they hear about the pen, they think, oh, it only applies to the pen, right? So the more we can help our audience get there, the better. Then once you have all these elements of your talk, you can start creating your actual either talk or live tool. And I like to do it with intro, body, close. In the intro, by the way, this is something very personal. I really like this way. I like to start with a promise to tell the audience in the first 5 seconds why they should spend their precious time listening to you, right? So I always like to start with a promise. Today you will learn how to take your next project to completion by using an ancient correlation. Then we incorporate all the elements that we have done before, but now as a script or as a live tool, right? Can you remember the last time you were about to complete a project or a business venture and it failed? When I was graduating college, I started a project to create a marketing company that failed. It was heartbreaking, upsetting, and demoralizing. Today, we take a dive into an ancient text that defines the correlation for taking every project to completion in order to have that sense of achievement and happiness in our lives. So that's what I created for the intro, which again, you can use for a live tool or for if you're giving a live class. This is how I would do it, right? So first thing, remember the weather test, correlations. No one outside or very few people outside of this group know what correlation means. So we start by saying, what are correlations? Let's start by understanding what correlations are. This is a little intro for your audience in case they don't know. There are 3 types of things: obvious, hidden, deeply hidden. The obvious things are the things that you can see with your 5 senses. Hidden things are the ones you can only see in deep states of meditation, like seeing emptiness directly, which is already super difficult. And the deeply hidden ones are seeing the direct exact cause for everything in our lives. Usually, reserved to four-step masters that have achieved enlightenment, aka Buddhas. Again, check who your audience is and adjust accordingly, right? Luckily, we have books that have been written about this, so we can have access to these correlations. And then if you have people in your audience that are familiar with this, you can say, of course, we can always use our deductive power to try and find the obvious connections between the things that have ripened in our lives and their seed. Sometimes there are connections that are not apparent. That's why we need the correlations. For example, and a clear example of this is beauty comes from patience, right? For me, I can sort of see a connection, but I could not have ever gotten there by myself. And that's what the correlations give us. They give us guidance of knowing for all these things that are not necessarily obvious, right? So then we jump into the seed for completing projects. Again, here with the emotional goal, right? Sadly, we all have memories of projects we've tried to bring to completion that never could. When these type of things happen, they can really take a toll on our state of mind, bringing negative emotions like being upset to the core, or feeling like we're a failure at work, home, or in our society. Again, this is how we connect the life tool to the real life problem, which unfortunately is pretty common, right? So then again, this part, you need to be the judge of whether you put it or not. In the book, The Crown of Knives, we find this particular correlation. And one of the main reasons for not being able to bring projects to fruition is obstructing the work of great leaders in our lives. We often concentrate too much on conventional solutions as opposed to planting the right seeds. So how exactly can we do this? Oh, by the way, this is another thing that Geshe Michael does that I found very, very useful, to do subtitles. Subtitles, smaller titles for the different topics of your life tool, right? So I call this a two-prong approach. Any problem or dream we want to accomplish can be approached in two ways. The first one is to get rid of the obstacles to your problem or your solution or the dream you want to achieve. And second, make sure you have the mental seeds for a successful completion. Again, a lot of your audience will already know this. So you need to be the judge of what the level of your audience is, the level of knowledge, right? For the purposes of this life tool creation, I took the audience level to be beginner, right? Which is not the case for you guys, but it's good for you to understand about this. So what this correlation teaches us is that we need, number one, make sure we're not obstructing the work of great leaders in our life. And number two, make sure we're facilitating the ultimate goal of these leaders. And this is when I jump into the example, right? Let's say our next project is starting an online teaching platform that can create passive income from classes we have been recording in DCIG for the past 10 years. The first step would be try to find the leaders in our life. We can start with one, and then once we are able to successfully work everything in terms of taking obstructions and help them create a smooth operation in their projects, then we can go to another leader. So little tips to help your audience are always good, particularly in the application side of things, because that's what I think I struggle the most, at least. Not with Geshe Michael, because he really helps us get there. But if you have ever read another book, it's really hard to get there. If you read, for example, the Diamond Cutter Sutra, oh my God, I read it. I remember exactly when I read it, and it didn't make any sense to me. There's no sons of the Buddhas. There's no, I'm like, why? How does this help me? And then I met Geshe Michael, and he was talking about the pen, about the two husbands. I'm like, oh, that's why. So it's very good for us to continue this tradition and try to make it as easy for your audience, right? In my case, a great leader in my life is my boss and teacher, Michael, who is a great entrepreneur, philanthropist, translator of ancient wisdom, and best-selling author, amongst other things. He has at the very least 13 organizations that are in full operation right now. I have the fortune to be running 2 of them and being actively involved in many of them in some way or another. All these organizations have worldwide presence and involve countless employees, volunteers, students, and clients from all continents: Asia, Europe, North and Latin America, Australia, and even Africa. I hope we have our South African friends. I don't know what time is it there now. We call this conglomerate of 13 organizations the worldly organizations, and the majority of them have their headquarters here in Sedona, Arizona. In the building we call Red Western Tower. This is just to give people a feeling of I don't know how I apply it in my life, right? Now, to say that Michael is the busiest person I've met is totally an understatement. Sorry, I'll slow down. He has his personal assistant drive him to most places, since he even uses his transport time to work on his laptop to create content for all these various organizations. Time is his most valuable resource because there are only 2 things he can do right now. Only he can do right now. Again, translation ancient books, as you can see. He calls us translators, but it's really him who's translating. It's really him who's translating these 12 books. We're learning slow, some of us slow like me, but we are right now. The truth is he's the only one who can do this. Second, creating content for these various organizations. Again, we're also learning. Right now, he is still the master and no one is even close. However, since he's the founder of all these organizations, it's his job to set the direction for each and every one of these companies. This is why he set up leaders for every organization that make sure that companies achieve their mission and vision. Now, we go into the application of the problem, right? There are a few things that can severely hinder his progress, like things when the leaders of the organization are not getting along, or when there are internal company problems, and he needs to use his time for dispute resolution, or when some organizations, for example, cannot achieve financial independence, and he needs to jump in to fundraise for those organizations. Again, all of these things are things that could take his time, and you would say, oh, yeah, maybe it's his job to do it. But since we already established that he's the only one who can do these 2, anytime that we ask him to do anything that is not this, we're kind of wasting his time. I'm kind of wasting his time. So I try to make this the least possible. Some examples of, oh, wait. So if I want to make sure my next project comes to fruition successfully, I need to do 2 things. Make sure I don't obstruct any of his progress. Number 2, make sure I can help the companies achieve their mission and vision. These are things within my grasp, fairly easy. So yes, I mean, anything that we can do to help these leaders in our lives, anything we can do to not obstruct. And again, for our learners number 3 in the audience, what are some examples of that? Examples of not obstructing his progress, making sure organizations work well together, both between organizations and internally within an organization. For example, in the case of Diamond Carter Institute Global and SCIN, I can help set up processes and structures to run for the companies to run smoothly. Try to forecast problems and make sure they either don't happen or that they are resolved internally with a chat or a conflict resolution without getting Michael involved, so that he can have more time to do translation. Some examples to make sure the companies achieve their mission and vision, therefore Geshe-Michael's goals. Help, for example, other worldview organizations with the production filming, which is something that I was very lucky to learn to do. Or in the case of within the company, make sure the company directors have what they need to achieve their quarterly and yearly objectives. So this is, again, the repetition of core message. If we concentrate on this two-pronged approach of, number one, removing the obstacles, and number two, planting the causes for success, we can make sure any project we embark on can successfully come to fruition. So that's the end of our body. Then we just try to go into our close with something that might try to get the audience excited about trying this. We have given an example of how to use this principle in a business project. Oh, also learner number 4. But this has so many applications. You can use them in your personal life as well. For example, if you have your own home, there are always improvement projects you or your partner wants, or if you have trips planned with friends and family, etc., etc. We all have things that we want to achieve or things we want to resolve. The key is to go to the source and make sure we're getting rid of any possible obstacles and that we have the correct seeds of completion. And going back to the life tool, by ensuring, to the text, sorry, by ensuring we're not being a hindrance to the great leaders in our lives and making sure we're part of their success. With this approach, this doesn't matter whether we have professional or personal projects, we can make sure we're planting the seeds and removing the obstacles for all these projects to come to fruition. So that's, I showed you what's my internal process of how to get from here, try to go through this structure and end up with a paragraph, well, a few paragraphs of the life tool, right? Some other things that will be helpful for you guys when you're creating life tools, and come up with a title. Hint, try to use a core message in there somehow. Geshe-Michael likes to say, it's always good to find titles that are slightly intriguing to your audience. For example, spring cleaning our mind. This might not be the most creative one, but this is something that I came up with. I don't know, and you might say, oh, a lot of people don't know what spring cleaning is. And in this case, it's meant to be that way. Then when you start talking about the life tool, you can say, oh, spring cleaning is something they do here in the US, that when the winter is gone, you start getting ready for spring, so you get rid of all the things that you will not use in your house. And I put the subtitle, removing the obstacles for completion. Something that might tell the audience what you're going to talk about, but also a little bit of, create a little bit of intrigue. Some other things, always try to put pictures with your talks, whether it is in a manual or in a PPT. Here are some of my favorite websites. This is my favorite one, storyblocks.com. You pay a $10 subscription. I'll show you how it looks like. And you have access to, you have access to videos and, oh wait, no, it's not this one. Storyblocks. You have access to videos, images, and backgrounds, music even, and all of this is royalty free. And honestly, for $10, I think it's worth it. You have 123RF, which is the other one I showed you. You have Pixabay, Pexels. If you have any other one, please feel free to use it. Always make sure your photos are royalty free. Just as a quick anecdote, a lot of you might be familiar with the image that Geshe Michael likes to use for coffee meditation, which is this Indian woman resting on a pillow. So we learned the hard way about copyright because the owners of that picture came to DCI and actually sued us. So we had to pay, I think, close to $10,000 for using that photo without the permits. You do not want that to happen to you. So make sure you use royalty-free images. It will save you a lot of potential problems, particularly now that everything is taught online. So again, this must be one of the most important things. Please be careful with that. I decided to go with this image. I typed in Scandinavian design because I really like the simplicity and the functionality of that. I also spent a year in Sweden, so I completely fell in love with that. So this is how I see the live tool: sprinkling our mind, remove all the clutter so that things work perfectly, and you're happy. I don't know. For me, this is what speaks to me. Maybe because I'm part Japanese. I don't know. So and after that, you put your live tool, right? By the way, I didn't have time, but usually if I had more time, you put an image for the live tool. You can put an image for each one of the different topics, or sometimes you put a little video. And this is what we just went through. I just put it in the final version. All right. Sorry, that took a bit longer than I thought. I wanted to open it for you guys to see if you have any ideas, any questions. So please feel free just to open your mic and your camera and ask any questions. If you don't, then I ask you to, in these classes, start going through the different texts. We have so much content. Geshe Michael did content for 2 weeks of a teacher training with I think 2 pages of words book, 2 pages. No, and not even 2 complete pages. So this is coming to Mixed Nuts is like opening the chest, and there's too many treasures. Anna, you have a question?
Yes. So Seiji, thank you very much for this lesson. It has been very useful for me. Very, very useful. Thank you so much. And I have a question for you. I know that you love very much your book, and everybody loves your book. Yeah. When you are going to publish it, we are going to learn a lot of secrets about correlations. So it's going to be very useful. But my question for you is, besides your book, what book do you think is the most rich in applicable correlations for the modern people?
So,
I know it's a tough question.
No, thank you for this question. I love it because I ask myself that a lot. So this is where we see the skill of Geshe Michael. Something that I particularly love seeing is how he already took, you've been to, I think you were in that training, Anna. He took all the correlations from this book, which of course are originally taught to monks, so it has a lot of religious content, and he turned it into he called it the 9 correlations on DCI level
10.
10, yes, leadership. No, 8. Leadership or in time management. Anyway, he used it in 2 levels. And if you go and look at that manual, it almost looks like something different. But try to go, I did that exercise and it blew my mind. You see the correlations presented in a religious way, and you see the correlations of how he does it applicable to real life. And it's amazing. And my book has I think 50 correlations. To answer your question, there's another book called All Kinds of Karma, which I don't know how long it's going to take to be published. It was finished, so I think maybe 6 months. I don't know. That you'll need to ask Rosa. But that book is coming too, and that book is all correlations. Again, it has a lot of religious aspects in it. For example, how to get a good rebirth, how to blah, blah, blah. But this is where our job starts. I know that you're interested in DCI, so this is a very cool exercise to see the correlation and go to the meaning behind it, which is what Geshe Michael does. And then take that and put it in another context so that it helps people. Because all of these books mainly were made to help monks. So I don't know if we have any monk in here in this call. I don't think so. So we need something that helps us, right? So that's a very cool skill that we're planning to, that's the purpose of the Life Tool Creation department that Nick is spearheading, and he has invited us to start learning about this. So I'd be very interested to see how Geshe Michael translates these correlations. For example, there was a very politically sensitive topic in that book, I remember. It was talking about, the book literally said, if you have something around being born as a woman, right? And Geshe was like, oh, this is very bad. And he explained to us why. Why does it say that there is a bad karma to be born as a woman? Because at that time, when that book was written, women had very, very little rights. So if you translate that into a modern application, you would never say that. You would say, if you want to have the good, if you don't want to suffer from racism, you know. And again, it's going to the what was behind it and presenting it in a way that can help people. And I talk about the thing that alarmed me the most, just to give you an example of how we can take all of these and make them applicable. Allison's book, for example. At the beginning, I was thinking, oh my God, how can this book help me in my life? And what she's one of her projects is she wants to make a corporate ethics, a book on corporate ethics, on how to help businessmen or just normal people to have ethics in business with the ideas that come from Vinaya. So it's mainly, that's the fun part, honestly, of trying, like, I see it in stages, right? First stage, we learn about these concepts. Second stage, if we really want to learn deeply about these concepts, the task is to try to take them to another context and make it applicable. So to answer your sorry for this long answer, but to answer your question, this book, All the Kinds of Karma, and to answer deep even further, all the books can be done like that. I know, because Geshe has done that masterfully. In fact, that's what DCI is, and nothing other than that. Anatole, oh, he's not here anymore. But anyway, there's something that Anatole says a lot that I love. He says ACI is his translation work, DCI is his commentary on the books, because he's doing this work, right? He's making it, he's giving his own commentary. He's taking liberties of changing the context to make it usable for day-to-day normal people like you and me. So that's what I love about this particular project, because it forces us to think behind the principles.
Thank
Cool.
you so much, Seiji. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And speaking of that, we have the person that you should keep all your questions for, Mr. Kramer. If you want to know, well, this is him and Nick are the two people that I go with my questions the most, so they can help you so much. And it's a great segue into the Q&A session for Ben Kramer. Thank you for coming to this class, and I'll make you the host, Ben.
Thank you, Seiji.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I forgot, before I leave, just try to go through this exercise of taking some book from scripture and trying to see how would you make this an applicable idea in day-to-day life that will help your friend who's not even in the slightest interested in learning Buddhism or learning philosophy. Because if we cannot do that, then we kind of fail in our mission, right? If these books cannot help people, then we fail. So anyway, there's so many cool things, and I'll give the mic to Ben. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, I'm just setting up a couple translators here. Bear with me a moment. Okay, there's Berta and then Catherine. Just a moment. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Romanian. Do we have a room for Romanian? Or do we
Yes,
use one?
I think they
me.
use Portuguese or something.
Portuguese.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. Very good. All right, almost there, folks. Everyone's got a bunch of work for me to do. I'm getting there. Okay. Oh, well, if they thought you spoke too fast, Seiji, just wait. Okay. Almost there.
By the way, I'll put the document here on the chat on the Zoom call if you guys want to have any have a backup of the written what we went through the document.
Oh, Seiji, did you make me a co-host? You did, right? For some reason, I'm having trouble.
Oh, Tim took it back.
Setting up Utpala's recording rights. Are you still in, Seiji? Do you have any power?
Tim took it back.
I stole it. I'm here.
Oh, the nerve.
The nerve.
So Tim, you